It's easy to romanticize trees in the city as leafy accents, places of shade, or the backdrop to a peaceful stroll. But the science now suggests something far more serious. Those branches might be buffering your brain from the toxic effects of urban life. In the increasingly urgent conversation about pollution and cognitive health, a surprising protector has emerged: green infrastructure. Far from being mere decoration, urban trees and parks may play a measurable, neurological role by helping to clean the air, calm the nervous system, and reduce the damage air pollution inflicts on the mind. The core of the issue is particulate pollution, especially PM 2.5, fine particles that penetrate deep into the lungs, enter the bloodstream, and reach the brain, where they spark chronic inflammation linked to cognitive decline, memory loss, and dementia. In dense cities, where vehicle emissions, industrial activity, and construction all churn out airborne toxins, no one is immune to exposure. But researchers are finding that residents living closer to trees, real, breathing ones, not just planters outside shopping malls, may suffer less cognitive damage over time. Here's where the biological magic comes in. Trees act as natural air filters. Their leaves and bark trap particulate matter, while their canopies alter airflow in a way that reduces pollutant concentration at the street level. Some species are especially good at this, like silver birch, maple, and pine, which have leaf structures that maximize particle interception. In well-designed urban green zones, trees can reduce nearby PM 2.5 concentrations by 15 to 25% and nitrogen dioxide by as much as 40%, depending on wind patterns and canopy density. That's not a small reduction. That's enough to move an entire neighborhood from risk zone to relative safety in terms of pollution-linked cognitive decline. Multiple studies now back the link between greener surroundings and better brain health. In a Harvard-based cohort study involving tens of thousands of women, those living in areas with the highest greenness, measured by satellite, had significantly better cognitive function in late life, even after adjusting for socioeconomic status, education, and other factors. A 2022 study in Spain found that older adults who lived within walking distance of tree-lined streets scored higher on memory and attention tasks, with pollution exposure acting as a mediating variable. In other words, green environments didn't just promote better thinking, they buffered the brain from the cognitive drag of dirty air. It's not just long-term protection either. Short-term exposure to greenery also appears to lower stress markers and boost working memory. Participants in lab experiments who walked through tree-filled parks, even in noisy cities, performed better on attention and recall tasks than those who walked in areas without vegetation. Greenery seems to soothe the overactive brain, quieting the inflammation and stress pathways that pollution tends to ignite. In this sense, trees aren't just passive filters, they're active mood and focus stabilizers. This has enormous implications for city planning. As more people move into urban areas and as air pollution continues to affect even so-called moderate cities, green infrastructure could become not just an aesthetic or a recreational feature, but a line of defense in public brain health. Strategically planted trees along roads, schoolyards, playgrounds, hospitals, and residential corridors could reduce local pollution exposure where it's most harmful. Urban green belts and pocket parks could serve not only as mental wellness boosters, but as literal neurological shields. Unfortunately, not all communities benefit equally from green space. Low-income neighborhoods, often those most exposed to heavy traffic and industrial pollution, are frequently the least green. This compounds environmental injustice. Already vulnerable populations are more exposed to pollution and simultaneously deprived of one of the few natural defenses against its cognitive effects. Addressing this imbalance is not just an environmental priority, it's a neurological equity issue. Of course, trees alone can't solve the pollution problem. They're a buffer, not a cure. If cities continue to expand without emission controls, without clean transit, without better building standards, even the densest canopy won't save us from cognitive erosion. But trees can slow the damage. They can buy time. They can reduce the daily burden on the brain of simply living in a polluted environment. So the next time you walk past a stretch of old oaks or a tiny corner park wedged between office towers, don't just appreciate the shade. Appreciate the shield. Because in the concrete jungle, your brain might owe more than you realize to the trees still standing.